Hello, welcome to another episode of the Millennium Live podcast. I'm your host, Connor Tui, and we have a very special healthcare-oriented podcast today because of Millennium's relationships with our partners and our providers, uh, highlighting solutions and highlighting those who use them is a big part of what we do. And today we are thrilled to be talking with a healthcare leader who's making a monumental impact in pediatric care. We have Stephanie Meyer. She is the Senior Vice President and Chief Nursing Officer at Children's Mercy Kansas City, with over 26 years of experience at the organization. Stephanie's journey is really taking so much stride in the course of those 26 years, from student nurse to playing such a key role as a leader. It's truly inspiring. So I want to take the time now. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for joining the podcast. It's great to have you here.
Connor, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk to you guys, and it's going to be a great little dialogue here.
Absolutely. And today we're definitely going to be focusing on and highlighting some of the great work that solutions can have on providers. And we have a great partner from that is working with Children's Mercy, right, directly with Stephanie, and a great partner of Millennium's. Uh, just Stephanie's going to take us through the incredible work that's going on at Children's Mercy to revolutionize patient care through innovation and through that help of a partnership with GE Healthcare that's led to the creation of the nation's first pediatric hospital operations center, known as the Patient Progressions Hub. From predictive analytics to improving patient flow and discharge processes. Stephanie's certainly going to guide us through some of these innovations that are shaping the future of healthcare. And plus, we'll explore integration of EMR, operational efficiency, and critical challenges and health equity. So if all those terms sound good to you, sounds good to me, Stephanie, we will jump right in. And I want to start, though, quickly. I know I gave you a brief introduction, but tell us a little about your role. You've been at Children's Mercy KC for so long that you are the top person to talk to here and have this conversation. Walk us through your role at that organization and your journey there.
Sure. Well, Connor, like you said, it's been an incredible journey. I've been here for 26, almost 27 years, and started as a student. So have been able to see a huge transition in the way we provide care from 26 to 27 years ago to now. So Children's Mercy is a level one pediatric freestanding hospital that takes care of anything and everything. The closest other hospitals to us that are pediatrics are Denver and St. Louis. So we pride ourselves on being a great community, but also national hospital that takes care of lots of different types of different types of kiddos. We are a magnet certified hospital. That's important to me as the chief nursing officer, because it does discuss outcomes and how our staff interact with each other and the interconnectability of them and partnership. And we've been able to actually use some of the work we're going to talk about later as magnet stories for our next site visit. So I'm excited to tell that organization all about our partnership with GE and how it's affected our ability to care for kids.
Absolutely. And I do want to dive right in because it's important to discuss these challenges. And, within this current environment of workforce and capacity constraints, there is certainly a need for efficiency at hospitals and health
Yeah.
systems. It's so critical. So where does operational efficiency really rank on your priorities, Stephanie?
Connor, operational efficiency for me is one of the top priorities we have for a lot of different reasons. One is obviously making sure we can provide care to the patient and the child at the right time, right place, right venue, wherever it is they need it. The other reason it's highly important for us to consider efficiency is just staff challenges as well, which is also something that I'm keenly aware of and working on. Nursing school enrollment, physician enrollment, med school enrollment, all of those types of health science programs is down. And so we do have to not only gain efficiency so that the patient family have a better experience and get what they need, but so that we can accommodate what the need is because of pipeline issues. So definitely top of mind for me and something that we've been working on diligently since our partnership with GE.
Yes, and I want to dive into the partnership with GE because I understand that you partner with GE on the patient progression hub to really tackle these challenges. So, would love to if you could highlight some of the key functions and capabilities that you've seen while this partnership has existed.
Sure. So we've been really lucky to be able to partner with GE to design a command center, if you will, that is the central hub of our operations in our hospital. And what that means is it allows a multitude of people to work in the same environment and to see the same information on our patients at the same time. Their ability to be able to drive change and to help a patient through our system from point of entry to point of exit with everybody seeing the data at the same time has really been instrumental in our ability to drive towards the increased efficiency you and I talked about before. So the hub in and of itself is a location where we use G software, what we call tiles, which are like apps. And the apps actually give us functionality that have an action associated with whatever the information the app is pulling for us says. So it can be anything from it tells us all of the patients we have in the hospital, where they are by location, and what tests they still have that are needed on that day. To it can tell us if we've got any type of health equity concerns we need to look at. It can also tell us if they've got any types of challenges getting what they need to be discharged, helps the entire team plan for discharge at the point that they actually enter the hospital, and making sure that during their stay with us, we're constantly working to get them through our system in an efficient way and one that makes sense for them as well.
I want to dive in a little bit to that too about the tiles, those real-time apps as it relates to discharge processes and sort
Yeah.
of the patient flow and discharge processes before and after implementing GE Healthcare as a partner.
You know, the thing that we love about the ability to affect our discharge processes is transparently, I didn't know that we would see the change in the data so successful so soon. And so it's been remarkable to watch how our time of order to discharge to actually out the door has decreased dramatically with the use of this tile and this app. The reality is just being able to have a discharge expediter, which is a nurse that works in our patient progression hub, watching the patients who need to be discharged or go home that day and aligning what their needs are to be able to go home with the resources available has allowed us to streamline that process. So when you have one person that's, or two, sometimes depending on our census, in charge of that throughout a day, it lets the nurse on the floor continue to provide care for her three or four other patients while not having to worry about, okay, how am I going to make sure they get the MRI? Who's going to come do meds to beds from pharmacy? Who's going to come make sure they have transportation? We have somebody in the hub working on those little details while the nurse on the floor is providing the actual hands-on care.
Certainly demonstrating some improved access to Children's Mercy. I want to talk a little bit about
Absolutely.
I want to talk a little bit about health equity, Stephanie. In what
Yeah.
ways is Children's Mercy Kansas City using the patient progression hub to address health equity?
You know, we've been very fortunate to be able to launch a health equity nurse with the help of the Block Foundation, who gave us a grant to investigate health disparities. And our health equity nurse really takes all of the information that's fed in the tile and helps decide what would prevent one of our patients or families from getting the care they need related to a health disparity. So, for instance, we've seen lots of movement related to language and language services with this nurse. So it's been ironic to have her be able to look at something and to identify this patient family might have a language barrier, but they aren't on our need list of needs for that day for interpreters. So she can make a phone call, she can work with our interpreter services to see what we need to do so that at the time the child comes, we're prepared for that family. We've got all the resources they need and they don't leave frustrated or leave it all not having been seen.
One of the things that's so challenging in healthcare is demand forecasting and planning. Stephanie, talk to us a little bit about how you use
Yeah,
digital twin technology to really prepare for winter surge capacity planning.
right. So winter surge is something, especially in pediatrics, we're always trying to prepare for because that's when the kiddos we treat, of course, get RSV or influenza. That's the seasonality that comes with pediatric care. And so we've been able to use GE's platform called the digital twin to help predict when it will hit, what are the diagnosis we'll see, and what kind of resources will we need to allocate to be able to open additional bed space during surge and what the time frame looks like for doing that. It's been really key to our ability to be able to not only be prepared, but also make sure that we are being prudent with our resources. Going back to what we discussed earlier, Connor, in regards to the pipeline issues, and there's not abundance of all the healthcare staff available just to come and help or to hire whenever. So having the digital twin helps us decide when do we need to onboard and have extra staff available, and when do we think that need will decline, and will be able to put them into another part of our organization, or even use some type of traveler system or traveler nurse to be able to help during that time. Ironically, last year in 2023, using our digital twin and putting in all of the things that we wanted it to consider, from diagnosis to time frame of when it's hit before, to what the CDC says and what we think it will tell us in regards to when it should hit. We were only off by when we surged by 1 week. And that's phenomenal. I've been planning for surge for years and years of my career, and we're never that close. So we were prepared last year, having a space ready to go. We had plenty of staff that were trained, that were here, and that helps us decrease our deferrals. Nobody wants to not be able to take a kiddo at the time that they need care. Our goal is to take anybody and everybody and make sure they get what they need. And so it's important that we've planned for surge and we're prepared, and the digital twin's been remarkable in helping us do that.
That's absolutely fascinating, and that's remarkable achievements. I want to switch gears and talk about integrating the EHR and with
Yeah.
solutions. It's- has to be seamless, and it has to provide a whole picture, if you will. So why is it so important to have the GE Healthcare Tile software alongside working seamlessly with the
Right.
electronic medical record system?
Connor, that's a great question. And it is extremely important to use your word. It has to be seamless. And the only way to make that happen is if they absolutely integrate and can work in tandem. And for that to happen, GE's done a really great job working with us to make sure it can work with a multitude of platforms. But the reality is that the tile is receiving and getting all of its data on our patients from the EMR or from a couple other applications that we might have regarding bed availability. For us to be able to drive that patient wherever they need to be in our system and to make sure they get the right care at the right time at the right place, it's got to integrate with the EMR and be able to double check the orders, double check what the child needs, and what we've said has to happen on that day, has to be able to look at their weight and their allergies to help us with the safety tile we've been able to implement. All of that has to happen seamlessly in order for us to get the care that they need. Again, right time, right place.
So absolutely seeing that the patient progression hub is driving innovation at your system. Uh, could
Yeah.
you take us through a couple of examples of some of the innovations that the patient progression hub is allowing for?
Sure. I think I would be remiss not to talk about how integral the hub and the software and the platform that we use with GE for the hub was to us managing the Chiefs rally parade after we won the
Mm.
Super Bowl. Of course, we had a shooting that happened, an active shooter down at the rally, and that resulted in us having receiving several patients, 12 pediatric patients and one adult that came to us for care. For the first time that we've been able to manage a disaster, we had a key core central group of people that could respond to a central location. And the data that was in our tiles was key to us being able to know what we could take, where we would put them, and what resources we had to be able to mobilize to respond to that type of disaster. While we've been able to respond before, it was a more rigorous and a little bit, not little harder to be able to pull all the data to understand where patients were in our system, what they needed. Of course, we're still trying to discharge patients at the time that the shooting happened. So we need to halt that because we don't want anybody to be unsafe. Where are they in our system? How do we pause them so that we can take the 12 victims that we had to be able to provide care? Without that software, it absolutely can be done, but not as seamlessly and not as easily. And our entire team felt like we were all on the same page at the same time, which in a complex healthcare system is difficult. Everybody's getting data at a different time. Everybody sees the patient at a different point in their journey. And having the hub and having all of that information integrated with the EMR and available in one space with a key group of team members co-located, so that we can all talk to each other, made our response to that absolutely one we are really proud of.
Wow, that is an incredible story. And just have a couple more questions for you, Stephanie. I'm curious about how this has impacted the health system as a whole, the whole community,
Mhm.
from physicians and even
Yeah.
patients, but the tangible outcomes that have
Yeah.
resulted and that you've noticed as a result of this great partnership.
Absolutely. I love that question, Connor, because in regards to our ability to work with the community, our goal is to have patients come to Children's Mercy for care that need to be here and need this type of level of care. Again, a level one trauma center type of care. There are a lot of communities who have great physicians, great nursing teams, great healthcare teams, but need a little bit of extra help with diagnosis they don't see quite as often. We now have a physician that sits in our hub, and we call it our hub physician, and they are available to consult with our community physicians and community partners on patients that they're unsure of, that we'd like to keep in the community for care, that maybe don't need us right then, but they need a little bit of extra help understanding a diagnosis or how to treat it, or understanding what resources they should mobilize to help that particular child at that time. I'm really proud to say that our hub doc has been able to interact with over 300 patients out in the community and keep them in their home location, just
Mm.
by having that position, having the hub available to the community so that we can work with them to provide care where it's easier, where the patient lives, where the family lives, and where the family has resources. So that's been remarkable for all of us.
That's excellent. But I want to end the podcast, Stephanie, by a little look to the future. It's what I always like to do
Yeah.
on this show, and I think it's important to discuss what the future does look like. So, Stephanie, you've done this a long time, and not to throw that out there, but you're a very experienced leader in this space. What do you see the future looking like? What are your hopes for a tool like what GE Healthcare provides, the patient progression hub? If more systems implement this technology, where do you think the outcomes of providing the best possible care could really go?
I'm excited about the future, Connor, and our partnership with GE. It's got the ability to really change the pediatric landscape of healthcare. And what I mean by that is our ability to interact and to work with each other to understand how we can help each other, how we can grow pediatric care in the way that it's available to whoever needs it at that time. How do we partner with other institutions to understand how to help them give better care, how they can help us give better care, making sure that we have the patient at the right location within the community. Everybody being able to interact with a similar system and being able to use a tile type of format would really revolutionize healthcare, especially as it relates to, like we talked about earlier, a disaster, as we all have these mechanisms for certain regions. So, for instance, we're in region 7 where we would mobilize all of our teams to be one in a disaster. Us having the hub and the technology to be able to interact with other hospitals to understand who has what bed availability when, who has what resources they can mobilize, where can we put each physician or each nursing team to have the most effect on whatever's happening with that disaster in the community, absolutely will provide better care to every patient that can interact with us.
Wow, just the remarkable stories, Stephanie. You are a wealth of knowledge. It's so good to have you on the podcast and really talk through the Patient Progression Hub, and Stephanie Meyer, Senior Vice President and Chief Nursing Officer at Children's Mercy, Kansas City. Thank you so much for joining Millennium Live podcast. This has been such a wonderful chat and really providing the opportunity to explore the solutions technology that is changing the healthcare landscape. So we'll see you
Well,
soon.
Connor, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate the opportunity and your energy, and I appreciate the ability to work with GE on advancing pediatric healthcare. It's been a pleasure.
Of course. Thank you to our GE healthcare partners. We'll see you soon.